Hello, I'm Dr. Trina Harlow from Kansas State University, where I coordinate the art education program, and I'm a teaching assistant professor. This is a presentation that I was going to give in Minneapolis at our National Art Education Association convention, which would have been happening this week, but due to COVID-19 and social distancing and the science fiction life we all find ourselves living in these days, this is going to be a digital presentation. Before I get started, I just hope that you are all safe and well and calm, and I know that together we can get through this, because that's what humans do and that's what art teachers do. Today I'm going to talk to you about storyboards and choice boards. Let's start off with storyboards. Storyboards came out of my research that I've been doing the last 6 years. I have led storyboard workshops all over the United States for summer youth programs through Boys and Girls Club or Big Brothers Big Sisters, with students in schools in various places. And in my dissertation research, also, I was in a school, and I've led storyboard workshops as professional development for teachers, for lots of pre-service teachers, and at various conferences. The topic of my dissertation research, which I completed in May of 2019, was involving storyboards. And you can see that entire document, which is about 400 pages long, without the unit plan. So it's I guess it's roughly close to 550 pages. You can see it if you just type in a search bar krex.k-state.edu and put my name in the search bar on that page. You can see the dissertation and read all about the storyboard research. Storyboards are a visual representation of thought and a verbal representation of thought. I like to call it a vervisual communication. And it is a process of thinking through whatever's on the mind of the artist sharing their story. It documents their life and their thoughts, and it expresses their thoughts and emotions, or gives them a place to do that. It's biopsychosocial, which means it taps into students' biographies, their psychologies, and their social structures. And it's biography-driven instruction, which allows the experiences that students have to come out in their art making. It's also social emotional learning tool, or as I like to say, a social emotional artistic learning tool. Interestingly, my research that I did after working on the storyboard project for about 6 years, or I guess 5 years, my research showed that all the trauma reflecting responses happened in the geometric design phase, which is one of the phases, and I'll tell you about that in a little bit. I would love for you all to make storyboards with your students and share their photos with me, or make your own storyboards through this time. I'm about to show you what storyboards look like. And also on our online group, Online Art Teachers K-12 Facebook group, which is a group that was started to support teachers through this time of social distancing due to the COVID-19. I have asked everyone to start a COVID journal and journal their own thoughts and feelings throughout this. And hopefully we're going to be able to do something with some exhibits with those journals when this is all over with. So you could also put your storyboard in your journal. This slide just points out to you what biopsychosocial is. So it is a hybrid word, as I've already said, combining biography, psychology, and the social needs. It maybe came out of the medical field originally, and it's an approach in education that is holistic. And biography refers to students' physical selves, who they are as a person, their ethnicity, their biographies, who they are. Their psychologies, it refers to their emotional selves. And their social needs refers to their needs for socialization and relating and interacting with others, and it includes their cultures and religions. It's based on Eisner and Dewey, and it's arts-based research. These are some very large triptych panels that I did for my proposal defense, where I wanted to do a much more sophisticated storyboard than I had been doing with students for the last 5 years. And you can see there's 3 of them. The red one represents well, let's start here. The blue one represents my childhood in Kansas, and all of the representations on here represent my life in Kansas. The red one represents being a young woman, and the irises and all of the representations there represent that phase of life when I was getting married and having children and all those sorts of things. And then the purple one represents my phase of life right now as an older woman, and things going on in my life right now. On the back side of it, I saved all kinds of memorabilia from the time period I did my research, which was 8 weeks with middle school students in an urban school setting that was very low SES, had a lot of refugee students. And I adhered all of these things to the back of them and Mod Podged them on. And so the back side is also a storyboard. Now I'm going to walk you through the storyboard steps. Over here in the bottom corner of the screen is a storyboard more like what students are doing. So the first step is students choose a color and they write an artist statement. They do a monochromatic painting where they divide the canvas into 3 horizontal layers. A foreground is a shade, the midground is the pure color, and the background is a tint. And there's a reason why we went to one color, because in a lot of the workshops with children, they mix the paint too long on these canvas covered boards and it turned brown. So we decided to go with one color. And that also gave us a chance for the color to have more meaning and more data to be collected by the time I got to my dissertation research after doing this study for 5 years. The geometric design is the next statement, and students are asked to create a geometric or curvilinear design that represents their past, one that represents their present, and one that represents their future. And I ask attendees to think about wrapping paper or pattern fabric, how the pattern just repeats over and over. The third step is a digital photo, and students can pose for a photograph if you have time, to give them time to think. That's good. In many cases, we just had to line them up quickly and take the photo. And then the next step is writing 15 words in various ways that on paper with various handwriting styles and fonts and hand lettering, and 5 words for love, 5 for life, and 5 for laughter. And then the last phase is the student art show, and you could do that face-to-face or digitally. So very quickly, I'm just going to show you some storyboards. So here you can see the monochromatic look that happened. Some of the colors, when they added a little black, would turn gray. So sometimes some interesting thing happens with the colors. But you can see her patterns on the back that meant something to her. They were symbolic to something to this young lady. And the viewer wouldn't know what that symbolism was if they have not read the artist statement, as well as the reason she chose the color blue. The words, we did not position the words in any particular place because it kind of became hard to do that because how big some of the words were. And so the words were just positioned all over, but 5 of those words represent life, 5 represent laughter, and 5 represent love. And that comes out of Biography-Driven Instruction by Herrera. That's a great book if you haven't read it. Here are 3 more. These 2 students were refugee students from the Congo, and there are tremendous stories behind their storyboards. And these storyboards reflected kind of some difficult experiences in life, as did some of the others I've shown you. This girl saw her brother killed, and so she had many more than 15 words on her because they just came pouring out of her. One of these students, their parent was in jail. One had been in multiple foster homes. Here's some more, and just want to show them to you quickly and let you take a look at them. Some are more well developed than others. These were 6th grade students in an urban middle school. I would start the storyboards with them on Mondays and then do whatever phase for that week, because we developed them slowly over 8 weeks. And then the teacher would complete other art projects that went on as part of the curriculum that week. And we saw a lot of we saw a lot of comments about Fortnite, and I loved this one. He shared the story of going to Mexico to his grandparents' rancho and driving his grandfather's pickup trucks around the ranch, and his grandmother made the best Mexican food, and Father Jesus meant so much to him. And he just really shared a part of his life that he didn't typically share. Remember, I mentioned that we saw the trauma reflecting responses all came out of the geometric design phase. And these are 2 of those. This one, the girl shared with us an experience of very difficult that involved her being taken away from her family and put in foster care. And this one was a refugee from Congo, and he shared a very difficult experience that involved guns, and it was life-changing for him to do the storyboard. This was out in New Mexico doing art workshops with children's groups out there. This was in Manhattan, Kansas with the Boys and Girls Club summer camp. And this was when we were still doing, they could choose their own colors. And this girl was an exceptional artist, and hers was just wonderful. This was one that kind of turned brown, but it really fit the mood of hers. And she shared a really difficult aspect of her life on her storyboard. These are pre-service students that I teach, and they shared difficult aspects of their life and a lot of story, really. And I want to share this one with you in particular because most people thought she chose purple because that was our school color, but the real reason she chose purple is it's the color of pancreatic cancer. The X's and O's represent when she was a child. She got lots of hugs and kisses from her mom and her grandmother. The 3 mountains represent that right now it's her mother, her and her grandmother, represent the fact that she's taking care of both her mother and grandmother who both have pancreatic cancer. And the arrows in the future represent that life's just going to go all over the place and she doesn't really know what direction it will head in the future because of everything going on in the present. And her words depict what's going on. Challenge, purple. She shares just a lot of words there. Here's a couple more. This girl chose pink, not because she likes it, but because she hates the color. And if you hadn't read her artist statement, you wouldn't know it. This girl told a very difficult story from her family that required really thick skin to get through it. These are some I made at various points of time. And this is a professional workshop I did for teachers, and you can see they're holding a couple of projects they made at the workshop, but they're all holding their storyboards. And here's some close-ups. They're all art teachers, and we had to do these pretty quickly to get them done. And their goal was to try and have some that they could show their students as an example. So those are some from teachers. This is one I did after I moderated an NAEA webcast a few weeks ago on self-care for teachers and resiliency among teachers. And I did this the day after as just an exploration of what self-care means to me. I think this one is interesting because I think your students could do something along these lines with you adapting it how you want it to be. Instead of putting a digital photo on it, I drew sort of a caricature of myself, and I have my 15 words and my geometric design. I augmented how I did that a little bit because I love folk art, and so I just made a folk art background. And I actually used E6000 glue and glued on a broken fake turquoise necklace that I'd gotten at an import store in Dallas. Some aspects of the data that I think are pertinent to COVID-19 that were revealed by this study are that, as I've said, all the trauma reflecting visual or verbal responses were on the geometric design phase. And students liked the anonymity of the storyboard. They liked it that they could share something, even something that was burdensome or troublesome to them, and no one would know what they were sharing unless they chose to reveal it. Students love that. Students said what could not be said. Thank you, Dr. Eisner. And verbal and visual communication were both needed in most cases to understand the artist's intent. And there was an obvious release of thought and emotion. There was a lot of other data from this, but I wanted to share those things with you. Tell the story, tell your story, tell the COVID-19 story, document it historically, and share your storyboards with me at trinaharlow@yahoo.com. Thank you so much. Welcome to the second part of this presentation. Part 1 was on storyboards and part 2 is on choice boards. During turbulent times, teachers often find resolve and a way to work through challenges. Being an art teacher can bring an added element of complexity to delivering instruction to students who may be temporarily participating in home-based learning for a variety of reasons. I like to call it home-based learning instead of remote learning. Remote is a deficit word to me, and I think during this time of COVID-19, we need to humanize things as much as we can, and so I like to call it home-centered learning. Certainly, COVID-19, which is the contagious virus that appeared on the world stage at the end of 2019, is causing many art teachers to rethink how to teach art for an uncertain amount of time as home-based learners need instruction in their homes, yet with ingenuity and the application of creativity that art teachers are known for. An engaging and partially self-administered curriculum can be provided for our students. Important planning by art teachers will be highly affected by the students' grade levels, their abilities, and with 21st century schools attempting to meet the needs of 21st century students, art education advocates for new frontiers in official school art curriculum, and the temporary social distancing of the early 2020 provides an example of how art teachers must adapt and change. I want to talk just a little bit about choice and an article I wrote that is visible on our online art teachers K-12 page. If you click on announcements in that group, you'll see it as newsletter 1. I want to point out a few things from that newsletter article that I wrote. It's a very long article, 10 pages in a Word document, and I typed it on the morning of March 12th. I woke up on March 11th and just felt a need to reach out and help art teachers and started the Facebook group and a Google Classroom, which we later turned into a Google folder. But the Facebook group has taken on a life of its own with over 5,500 members and over 30,000 posts last time I checked, and all those numbers are higher than they were a few hours ago when I started working on this. So let's just talk about a few things to remember. It's important to remember that this is a stressful situation for everyone, not just teachers. Our students and their families are experiencing all kinds of stress. We're starting to see Facebook posts of people's spouses being furloughed at work with no pay. It's happening in a lot of professional positions. We're seeing a lot of restaurant employees and hotel employees just being let go. It's a very difficult time for our economy and people's livelihoods on top of the virus. Not all students have a comfortable home setting in which to learn, and all of this is in that article. We know that as teachers. We know that some students just don't have the support they need at home or even a comfortable environment. We also know that loneliness is probably going to set in if this lasts very long. I think as today is March 25th, and I think we're beginning to have concerns now that our economy could be a bigger problem than the virus. So it's a very fluid situation that's changing repeatedly, daily, many times. Our home situations are fluid, the overall situation is fluid, and it's all in fact affecting the importance of art education. We've got to remember to humanize, to address social emotional needs, but remember we're not in the house with the students. We can't walk up and pat them on the shoulder or, have a heart-to-heart with them or let them pour themselves out into us. So I think it's going to be, we're going to have to look for new and unique ways to offer social emotional support. Most of all, let's just don't add stress to their lives, because their lives are stressed already. So let's make sure we plan ahead that the curriculum and the activities we're providing for students and their families, especially if they're elementary school students and need the support of a family member or caregiver to help them, don't add stress. Let's have a contingency plan in case we were to get sick. Let's have a teaching buddy that knows what we're doing and can step in if something were to happen to us. I think it's important not to say that you're going to send something daily or weekly, because if you don't, it could cause stress for students. Planning for this instruction does not have to be the best you've ever done. Don't stress yourself out over providing, the best and brightest and, most developed curriculum you've ever done. Everyone is feeling stress right now. And I think if you take that pressure off yourself, that you don't have to do your most ideal instructional materials right now and instruction, I think you might even be able to breathe and maybe enjoy this weird aspect of teaching we all find us in a little bit, if I could say that, in the middle of a pandemic. And we know that art can help. We're starting to hear of a few districts that are telling their art teachers they don't need to send work and that only core teachers do. These are in some pretty low SES districts. I anticipated that and wanted to get out in front of it, and I wanted to help get art teachers equipped to deal with that by having good plans, because we know in many cases art's the first thing to go, and I just didn't want teachers all over the country to be told that just that what administrators sometimes call core content areas were what was important. I've been saying the word choices over and over and over again, in person, in speaking engagements, online, in writing, in posts, everything, everywhere. Choice, choice, choice. I really, from the beginning, from the get-go, I saw teachers making all these wonderful plans for very detailed kinds of instruction. And I just heard a voice saying, no, we need to offer choice. Because you see, not all schools have the ability to deliver e-learning or distance learning, digital learning. Some schools do. I think it's a small percentage of schools that have one-to-one iPads or one-to-one Chromebooks. Most schools find themselves in the position where a lot of their students have no technology at home, nor does the school have technology to provide for them. And if they did, then students don't have internet. So choices became early on what I saw we needed, and that article I wrote on March 12th spoke to that. The article is called 30 Ideas for No Tech, Low Tech, and High Tech Instruction During the Period of Social Distancing Caused by COVID-19. And so read that article. And I have been mentoring first and second year teachers all over the country via Zoom, and helping lots of teachers through our Facebook group, mentoring teachers there. Every time I see a post, I write, give choices, choices, choices. I describe it as a bingo card, where you maybe have 12 boxes and they pick 8, 1 to do a week until school's out. We also, I want to point out that you can see that newsletter again on the Facebook group page, Online Art Teachers K-12, and it's pinned in the announcements. So choice boards appeared organically. I'm going to move this down here for a minute so you can see that. Choice boards appeared organically by teachers after this article was posted. And I posted this article all over social media, in many, many groups that I was a member of, groups I wasn't a member of, on many pages. I just blitzed the internet with it. I did not think of the choice board title. I've been doing my work in Storyboards, and a lot of my followers know that. But I did not think of the choice board title. It appeared organically, and I noticed it appeared shortly after, within a couple days of posting that article. So I would like to hope that our Facebook group had something to do with that and that article. I want to share with you this quote that I took off of our Facebook group from a teacher in Mexico. First of all, I want to thank you all for your support during these uncertain times. I live in Mexico and the virus spread and quarantine are just starting here. You shared materials that have helped me so much since I'm in my second year of teaching. I wanted to share back with you. It's not much, but I made this choice board in Spanish, deeply based on the choice boards you have been so kind to share. The challenge is to complete at least 4 of the provided squares for an extra full point in my class. I hope it may help any teachers that have Spanish as their main language or anyone looking for middle school choice boards. Stay safe and thank you for being awesome. That's from Fedra in Mexico. And I just thank her so much for that comment. And we're getting lots of comments like that on Facebook. She said these weren't much. Look at these beautiful choice boards she made. Now, I want you to know some of these choice boards have links to high-tech options. Some are totally for no tech. And I'm just going to go through these very quickly because you can see them all on Online Art Teachers K-12 in the choice board topic. Here's some more from Angie. Hers were in the form of a slideshow that they made to share with their students with lots of choices. Here are some from Diana, and she even has a template where you can do your own, and she's got lots of themes and choices for students. And here's one from Dana, and she has connected hers with links. So hers is a high-tech one. And here's some from Jessie P, and I love this. I think that's Lady Gaga. It looks like it to me, but she has lots of choices that do not involve tech. And this is a beautiful one done by Audra. And it's just a great idea to look at that one. And here are some that are laid out like a bingo card. And I believe these were done for no tech. And here we have some more no tech ones. These are drawing activities they can choose from at home. Here's some found object art. I wrote about found object sculptures in the article I wrote. And I wrote about food faces in my article, and there it is. And this one was just done by hand. Not all teachers even have technology they can take home. If schools didn't provide teachers with laptops or an iPad, or if it happened too fast and they couldn't move their desktops home, some teachers find themselves at home struggling because they don't have technology they can use or it's unreliable. We don't have ITs in our house to fix our computers when they have quirky little things that go wrong with them like we do at work. So this is a beautiful one done by hand, and I want to thank this teacher for that. And here's another one, and one more. This one needs some technology. This one is one with lots of technology. Here is one that involves no technology, and she spent a lot of time working on these. So I want to thank Amira for this because this one has lots of no tech choices, and then she broke them down into individual pages with even more in ideas. So what will the data reveal from the choice boards? I hope that you'll stay connected with us because I really plan on researching these choice boards, and I'd love to see choice boards that you make. Keep posting them on the Facebook group page, and just also know that we'd like to hear your experience when this is all over, how the choice boards worked, what worked well, what you would change, how all of these resources that were shared and provided by others helped you. And please send me some of the choice boards you make and our whole group. Please put them on the Facebook group page, which I just said, but you can also email them to drtrinaharlow@gmail.com. We want y'all to stay safe out there and take care. Keep teachering and keep art teachering, and we're here for you. And maybe this will end and life will go back just to how it was before it all started, or maybe we're going to find some really difficult times coming. We just really don't know how this is all going to play out, but please stay safe and take care.